Alright guys, look, if you're an NFT fan and you haven't been paying attention to this new type of NFT that's existing on the market, you could seriously be missing out. So stick around because I'm going to explain about what we're actually talking about here. It's more than just, I understand Bored Ape Yacht Club, Cool Cats, all those collectible collections. I understand that. And that's great if you're into that game. But there's a new game in town and it has to do with financial NFTs. So if you haven't been paying attention to this, you really need to. Let me explain. So I've got OpenSea up right here, right? And we could search for example, Uniswap liquidity positions. If I search for that, I get a whole bunch of options. Let's take this one as an example. This is somebody selling their Uniswap liquidity position. It's accruing 0.01% transaction fees, and it's for a pair called liquidator.eth or /ETH. I have no idea what this coin is. I would never buy this Uniswap position, but it just goes to show you that if you are a Uniswap liquidity provider, you can actually sell that Uniswap liquidity position because that's unique to you. Nobody else has put up the same amount of liquidity in the same style that you have. So you could sell Uniswap v3 liquidity positions, even v2 positions on here. And look, there's some related ones over here. This guy is selling a different Uniswap v3 position. I would never be buying any of these because there's actually a much cooler and newer concept that's coming out when it comes to financial NFTs. So you really want to educate yourself about financial NFTs because, yeah, collectibles are cool, but there's some issues with that in terms of the stress of trying to flip them and just always having to wonder if the NFT you're holding is actually going to hold its value over time. But let's talk about what's up and coming right now. If we search for Hex Stake Instance right here, there's this new game in town called Hex Staking Instances, which are essentially wrapped Hex stakes that are trading on OpenSea right now. They've got a floor price of 0.571. 23 different owners are selling 106 different wrapped stakes. Now, if you don't know anything about Hex yet, if this is an introduction to Hex for you, please go to hex.com. Make sure you read the entire website so you really understand what these are all about. Hex is essentially the digital certificate of deposit. It's 100% admin key free, 100% uptime, never been hacked, whereas every other DeFi product seems to be getting hacked all around us. And Hex has been out for a while. It's been out for 2 years. It's been the top performing asset of 2020 and 2021, having done over 10,000x. It's really done some incredible stuff. Okay, so if you haven't heard about Hex, well, educate yourself on the underlying protocol first, but these are wrapped Hex stake instances, okay? So in Hex, you can stake it. And when you stake it, you get a certain number of shares, and you have to serve a time of a certain number of days. So the value of these Hex stakes is actually based on the number of shares that you get, and the number of shares is increasing in value every time, which means it's always more beneficial to be a staker earlier than later because you're always going to get a better rate for shares in the Hex system at an earlier point in time, meaning that earlier stakes with more shares are actually accruing more interest. So that's why these would have value someday. The more shares or T shares that you buy, just stands for trillion shares, the more value you're actually buying when you're buying one of these wrapped stakes. And the value also has to do with the number of days completed on these stakes. So because this protocol is so new, all of these stakes that I see listed have only served 0 out of 5,555 days or 90 days, whatever the stake term is. Okay, so this is the total stake term. And again, because it's new, no one's actually completed any days of these terms yet. But the value of this encapsulated stake is theoretically based on the shares and the number of days that have already been completed, which hypothetically the buyer would not have to complete because they've already been completed. And so if you'd want to buy one of these or sell one of these, you can do that through a new application called Hedron.pro. And I'll show you that too later. But you just need to be aware that this is an option. Instead of trading the NFT of the week, to me, that's kind of like a game of hot potato. You have to guess which NFT collection is going to be hot this week. And it's almost like if you don't have the insider information, there's a lot of ways to lose money, especially when the market crashes and you're left holding a bag of an NFT. To me, that's a huge risk when we talk about some of these collections being worth tens of thousands of dollars. When the market crashes, are they ever going to recover and see those levels again? Whereas with these financial NFTs, these Hex stake instances, we actually have a lot more confidence that these are going to be around for years to come. I mean, people in the Hex system are staking for an average of over 6 years. That means they're locking their coins, putting their money where their mouth is, and expressing their belief in the system for over 6 years. People are staking this stuff and they really believe in it and its survivability over the next decade at least, probably over our lifetime. And it's already been functioning flawlessly for 2 years, 100% uptime, never been hacked, no admin keys, truly decentralized like the way DeFi was supposed to be. And now we've got this new option called Hex Stake Instances, where if you want to make a Hex stake and you want to then sell that stake to somebody else, well, you can wrap it using this new Hedron app. And you can wrap it and then sell it on an OpenSea marketplace or any other NFT marketplace like this. So if you're an NFT fan or an NFT collector, this could be a new foray into a way to make money that people haven't really been talking about because it's so new. And there's a lot to understand here that I'm not going to get through in this short 10-minute video. I just want to give you guys the intro into this and let you go down the rabbit hole yourself. Obviously, you need to read hex.com. Hex.com is the premier staking application on Ethereum. It's coming to a new blockchain called Pulse Chain very, very soon. We're all very excited for that. And the app that I'm talking about to then wrap these stakes is called Hedron.pro. Now, this is a very new dApp, okay? So it's been audited. It is decentralized. The developers are known, but it's still so new, so there is some level of risk. Be very careful. And if you're testing this out, test with small amounts to make sure you really understand the system and just to make sure you don't do anything silly and lose all your money. But Hedron.pro is where you would take your hex stakes and then wrap them and then go be able to sell them on an OpenSea or a Rarible or LooksRare or whatever platform you prefer. But look at all these stakes, guys. These are people that are planning to somehow make money on these in the future. Now, because it's so early, literally it's like 3 days old. There's not going to be a lot of buyers and there's barely any sellers. So you could get in on the ground floor of this new concept of financial NFTs with the hex stake instance. To me, that's better than playing the game of financial hot potato and being left holding a bag of some, collectible, which may go out of fashion, next week or next month or next year. And if you paid $60,000 for some picture of some walrus or something, what if the market just decides to move on to the next thing? Collectibles go in and out of fashion all the time, whereas financial products stand the test of time. And why I'm so confident that Hex is going to continue to be around is simply for the average staking length that people are staking. And the fact that it's been around for 2 years, again, working flawlessly, incredible community behind it, a lot of advertising going on, a lot of marketing, a lot of promotion. But if you haven't heard of Hex yet, learn how Hex staking works before you dive into these wrapped stakes. But again, if you are a fan of NFTs and you haven't been looking into this needs to be on your radar for 2022. This is going to be a giant market. It's essentially a secondary bond market. Whereas Hex is the digital CD, these wrapped stakes are essentially like a bond market. People now have the ability to not have to be locked into a stake, because with hex stakes, there are massive penalties for pulling out early. It's basically staking with heavy consequences, which is so different from 99.9% of everything else in crypto. The underlying mechanics of Hex are really revolutionary, so that's worth looking into as well. But there's an option for people that now want to make a stake, but don't want to actually hold it through to maturity. So you've got these people speculating on, again, based on the number of shares they have and the number of days they've served, that they'll actually be able to potentially sell this if they need to in the future and create a market of tradable stakes. So I find this way more interesting than trading liquidity positions. I find this way more interesting than trying to get the insider scoop on which NFT craze is going to be hot this week and always wondering if I'm going to be, the greater fool that's being sold to, or, the person at the top pulling all the strings. Financial NFTs are something you can actually understand because these financial products aren't going anywhere. We're revolutionizing all of the products at a bank. The CD is the second most popular product at a bank. And now we essentially have what's basically the birth of a new market, a bond market, where people can trade, derivatives of the stake on here. So if you're an NFT bro, let me know what you think. Again, learn about Hex before you do anything else. Really learn what you're doing here. But I believe there's some opportunity to be had. If you're into NFTs and you're into DeFi, this is a big crossover point, okay? This is a lot of overlap between DeFi and NFTs. And it's really cool to see this coming to fruition in 2022. And also when it comes to Pulse Chain, you'll be able to act quickly just having this information up front, because there's going to be a lot of NFT platforms on Pulse Chain and a lot of people probably trading these hex stake instances on Pulse Chain as well. So again, these things are incredibly complex. If you want to learn more about Hedron, go to the Telegram group, talk to the founders, read the smart contract, read the audits. It is audited and it is decentralized, but really learn as much as you can and test with small amounts. And obviously learn what Hex is, learn how to buy Hex, learn how to stake Hex, learn about the Hex protocol before you just jump in to trying to make money with encapsulated stake NFTs. But for all you NFT collectors out there, I think this opportunity is something you're not going to want to miss. So as always, like, subscribe, share the video, you know the deal, and I'll see you on the next video.